Greetings from the Holy Land, Holy City, Holy Time. We're on Super Wednesdays here in the Holy Apple. I was just thinking that it's a good idea that we say greetings and we don't say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because depending on where you are in the world, you might be offended. So this way, we cover all our bases. Welcome to all. Okay, today's topic is going to be, drum roll, connecting the dots, counting of the Omer, the month of Iyar, and establishment of the State of Israel. It's a mouthful, but put on your seatbelts. We're really going to go for a ride today. And for those that are really interested in understanding the times that we live in and understanding how the State of Israel fits into the puzzle, what do we have to correct here? How do we bring the redemption? This class is for you. This class is for everyone. Okay, thank God. Here we go. Last week, we spoke about the month of Iyar. Is it a positive month or a negative? I'm just going to go run down. We have about 7 or 8 things on each side, each part of the equation, positive side, on the negative side. I'm just going to run through them so we get back into shape here on our subject. Okay, positive time of the year. We spoke about the famous Ramban that makes an unbelievable statement, hits the ball out of the ballpark, talks about the time between Passover and the holiday of Shavuot. The counting of the Omer period is it's a holy period of the year. It has the law status of the days, the intermediate days of a holiday. Amazing thing. So these are good times. Let them roll. We saw the Midrash Shlomo, that he told us that this is the most high spiritual time of the year. This time of the year, the month of Iyar, we spoke about, even though the counting of the Omer does include a little bit of the month of Nisan and a little bit of the month of Sivan, the major, all days in Iyar, this month that we're in right now, it's the real Omer, you could say, is connected to the 1 month of Iyar. Number 3, we saw in the Tractate of Shabbat, 147 page that is, we saw that this is a tremendous time for a person to become physically and spiritually healed. The time between Passover and time of Shavuot, specifically this month. That's why, if you ever notice the acronym of the month of Iyar, the Jewish month that we're in, it's Ani Hashem Rofecha, I am the Lord your God, who is will bring you health. So this is a month of spiritual and physical health. The Magen David, the commentary, told us an amazing thing. The most opportune time for prayers to be accepted is during the month of Iyar. Flat out. Number 6, we had the victory over the archenemy of the Jewish people, Amalek, on the 23rd day of the month of Iyar, this month. Victory over our archenemies. Number 7, we spoke about the acronym of the month of Iyar is Hashem Hashem El Rachum, which is the beginning of the 13 attributes of mercy. So this is a time where God has mercy on the Jewish people. Last but not least, point number 8, we have the first and second temple built first by Solomon, the second by Ezra. Both of them were the beginning stages of the temple. First and second were started in this month of Iyar. And as we discussed, also when God wanted to destroy, hundreds of years later, when he wanted to destroy the first and second temple, he went according to the months, and he could not touch the month of Iyar because it has the merit that the building of the temple took place during this time. So not only was the temple built during this month, but it is also protected when it was about to be destroyed. This month it was protected and it was not destroyed. Let's flip the coin on the other side, the opposite side, the negative side. The time of year is a negative time of year. We spoke about the tractate of Yevamot 63 talks about 12,000 pairs of students, or 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva that that died at this time through some kind of plague. We spoke about the Kabbalah. Very interesting that according to the Kabbalah, we have the entire period, the entire 49-day period, not just 32 days, like most people. They have 32 days of mourning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, and not mourning as in good morning. But according to the secrets of the Torah, the Kabbalah, we know that one is not the mourning period continues for 49 straight days. It has nothing to do with the death or plague or killing. Some people say that the students of Rabbi Akiva were killed in various wars against the Romans. But anyways, anyway you want to slice it, according to the Kabbalah, we do not shave, we do not take haircuts. And this is a very interesting concept. Concept is, as we spoke about, is the concept of hair. The time of counting of the Omer, we take barley. Barley in Hebrew is called seorim, which is the root word of hair. Sin, ayin, resh, barley. And you're not allowed to cut your hair. Why? Because according to the inner secrets of Torah, hair represents judgment, strict judgment. So you want to stay away from that. So we have also the concept that's brought down many, many times that God is very strict with the righteous, as thin as a hairbreadth. Why does the Torah use the expression hair when we want to talk about being strict in judgment with the righteous? Because that's the whole idea behind hair. We have the Ravad. Ravad brings down something very interesting, that as we know, the 12 months are connected to each one of the 12 tribes. The month of Iyar, according to the Ravad, is connected to Shimon. Shimon is the symbol, is the icon of the selling of a brother, selling of Joseph. He was the instigator. Shimon was the instigator of selling down the tubes his brother Yosef. And that's why when they get together, all the brothers and Joseph, who they do not recognize him in Egypt, they actually keep on the side Shimon, not Levi. Even though they were both involved, the major instigator is Shimon. So that we see already that the month of Iyar is starting off on a left foot, because we have a situation where the students of Rabbi Akiva did not respect each other, and this is similar to what was going on with Shimon when he instigated the selling of Joseph. This is a lack of respect for a fellow brother, a fellow Jew. So we see the roots of this month are already not from the time of Rabbi Akiva, but we go back, way back. We go back from the time of the selling of Joseph. We have the Bnei Yisachar. He told us something very interesting. Why is this not a good time of year? Because God is making every single year a selection amongst the Jewish people. What will be our share, if any, in the Torah? So whenever there's a selection, many people are not going to be included. So it's a very, very difficult time. You know, you want everyone to be included. Let's say you want to get a position on an NFL team. How many people can the NFL accept? So there's a limit to how many people they accept. How many people try out? Hundreds of thousands of people. I once saw statistics when I was in high school. Amazing, probably even worse today. How many people try to get a position in Major League Sports, including all the sports, and it's like 0.000, you know, 0.1 something. So when we're trying out for a position, many people get left out, and it's a very uncomfortable time in our lives. When we don't get a position, we come for a job interview, and they can only take one person, and 50 people don't get the job. How do you feel? Pretty rotten about yourself. So that's what's happening here. It's a very difficult, not an easy time of year, because God is deciding what are which one of us will have a part in the acquiring, in the learning, teaching of Torah as we come close between Passover and receiving the Torah on the holiday of Shavuot. So that's why it is that is why it's a kind of negative, judgmental period of time. We're going to throw one more point in that we didn't have time for last week, so listen up. Very interesting. We know that the second month of the year, we're right now in the second month of the year. Passover, Nisan was the first month, we're in the second month. Now, if you notice, when the 6th day of creations, during the time of the 6 days of creation, there, on the second day, it doesn't say the words, God saw that everything was great. Why isn't it great on the second day? So listen to this. We have the verses. God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate between water and water. So God made the firmament and separated between the waters which were beneath the firmament and the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. God called to the firmament heaven. And there was evening and there was morning the second day. So of course the big question here is on every day, the first day, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, it always says that God saw that everything was hunky-dory. Everything was great. So what happened here? Where do we go wrong? So all the commentators said that there was a separation here. When you have two opposing powers, there's a separation here. And when there's a separation, that is not a good time. That is not a happy time. When you start separating two elements that were together, and now you separate them. One goes above, heavens, one goes below. So therefore, it does not say God saw that everything was great on the second day. Why? Because now we have a separation, which is an amazing thing. That in the second month, which is represented by the second day of creation, it does not say things were good. And it's a separation. Why are we in a mourning period now? Because the students of Rabbi Akiva were separated. They were not united. They were not unified amongst themselves. So therefore, it's exactly, we said that the bad tidings of this time of year did not start with the students of Rabbi Akiva. It started with one of the 12 sons of Jacob who sold his brother, but it even goes back further. It goes back to the creation. Number 2, the second month, Iyar. The second day of creation, there was a tremendous separation. And that's why we're suffering till this very day, because there's such a separation between people. Okay, that's on one leg. That's what we discussed last week. And now let's go. To highlight this conflict, Iyar, the time of the Omer, good times, bad times, somewhere in the middle. Let me just tell you, we passed about 10 days ago, almost 10 days ago, we passed the 8th day of Iyar. Now, very interesting. On the 8th day of Iyar, I'm at my house, and my wife comes out to me, she says, Yehuda, listen, we just got somebody just sent us a WhatsApp, and it says there that the 8th day of Iyar is a super special holy day, especially when it comes during the year where it falls, the 8th of Iyar falls out on a Monday, which this year it fell out on a Monday. So this is a tremendously uplifting holy day. And therefore, if you have any plans, you should begin them. If you have any projects, you want to start them on the 8th day. Why? Because you're starting on the right foot. You know, you're starting on the right foot. So my wife asked me if I ever had seen that. And I said, well, I'll look it up. So I got my books open and I said, it's correct. There are sources from great sages that talk about this. On the other hand, as I'm looking it up, folks, I see exactly the opposite. I see exactly the opposite. If I'm not mistaken, by Rav Falaji. Rav Falaji writes in his book, the 8th day of Iyar, you don't want to begin any projects, you want to begin any programs. This is a terrible day. You don't want to get married, you don't want to start dating. Don't begin anything because it's bad news. What is going on? Something more extreme, two extremes. You have, it's a great day, the 8th day of Iyar, it's a great day. Start any project. Oh, the 8th day, stay away from there. Like keep your head low. You don't want to be caught on the 8th day of Iyar. So this is highlighting the extreme differences. Is it good times or bad times? So, anyways, that really highlights it. Now, for our answer. Okay, folks, hold on. Now for the answer. Good times or bad times? We're going back to a student of the Gra. And in his book, Doresh Litzion, page 72, he says the following. He says you should know that the times of the counting of the Omer are the most special days and most special days for a person to become closer to God during these times. However, now listen to what he says. We know that there is a principle in life, in Judaism, that something that is so special and holy, therefore it could be in a place, or it could be a person, or it could be a time of year. If you have a special time of year, a holy time of year, this object or this time of year could either be the greatest time or it could be the worst. Why is that? Because that's our principle in Judaism. Whatever is so holy, it has the opposite side, which could be that the powers of evil in the world, the spiritual evil powers in the world, when they see such a lofty idea, time of year, concept, person, they want to do everything possible to try to rid themselves of this place, of this person, or the times. So therefore, you have a double-edged sword here. On one hand, Iyar carries the possibilities of being the greatest time of year. It carries also, because of the fact that it's such a great time of the year, if we do not take advantage of it, then it becomes the worst of times. Really, the worst of times. So, that's point number one. We see that when the Ramban, Nachmanides, came to Jerusalem, which is the holiest city in the world, he saw that it was the most desolate. That's the concept. Places that are the most holy, if we do not take advantage of those places, they become tremendously desolate places, more so than any other place or time. So, therefore, it's important to take advantage. And therefore, there's a book out that it discusses many dates, periods of history, that great sages commented that the redemption of the Jewish people would be taking place, occurring on certain dates, and they didn't pass. Were they right or were they wrong? Perhaps they were right. Why? Then why didn't it happen? Because the fact is that these dates were very, very special. They were holy. But when you don't take advantage of them, then they become the worst. And this book shows that when you had dates that were given by tremendous sages and rabbis that did not come to fruition to bring us redemption, they brought us the exact opposite. They brought us destruction and pogroms and murders. Not only that, Rav Dessler writes in Michtam Eliyahu, if you look at Pharaoh, it says Pharaoh saw great things. What Pharaoh was seeing in Egypt, he was seeing tremendous miracles. So in order for it to be a fair game, in order to there to be free choice, God had to harden his heart. Not what we thought. We thought when God hardened his heart, he doesn't have free choice. Exactly the opposite. Because he saw the greatest things, the greatest miracles, then of course he would say, let the people go. So God had to harden his heart so it would be a fair game. Same thing here. When there's such lofty times, when there's such miraculous times that are waiting for us, there has to be a fair game here. So God puts into the bleachers, God puts into the waiting room the exact opposite. In order for us to choose, what do we want? Are we going to succumb to the powers of evil? Or are we going to bring the redemption? So you have that free choice balance. Everything to everything great, there has to be the opposite side in order for us to be able to have free choice to decide which side are we taking here. Another way to solve this mystery of the month of Iyar, great month or terrible month, is in this continuation. The students of the Gra had an unbelievable, they had a tradition that was brought down from the Gra, that even though the days of counting of the Omer might be negative days, however, there are two exceptions. And you know what those dates are? They're the 20th day of the Omer, which is the 5th day of Iyar. In our terminology, this was the victory. This was the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, May 14th. This was the victory of the War of Independence on the 20th day of the counting of the Omer. And a second date that they had, which was a great date, was the 42nd day of the Omer, which is the day of the liberation of Jerusalem in 1967, almost 51 years ago. It's an amazing thing. So we could say that this answer would tell us, listen, really the counting of the Omer time is a very, very difficult, it's strict judgment, it's not the greatest time of year. Kind of keep low. However, there is an exception. We see that there are great things that happened during the month of Iyar. And why is that? Because there are two dates that are the exception to the rule. The rule might be that they are days of judgment and negative times. However, there are two exceptions. And is this a coincidence that on the two exceptions we had the greatest victories since the times of Hanukkah, where the War of Independence, even though we lost 1% of the Jewish people in war, in battle, okay, the Jewish people for the first time became independent, and of course the Six-Day War, which brought us back to the Golan Heights, the Sinai Desert, East Jerusalem, and to Judea and Samaria. Okay, moving right along here.
The ground predicted the future.
What?
The state of Israel that was before the ground lived. He predicted those dates.
He doesn't predict the dates. He
said,
says these are special. Right.
But before that, he lived before this date.
200 something years before. And he's writing here. First of all, not only did he say it, his students acted on this. He brings down here that many projects that students of the Gra that came to the land of Israel over 200 years ago, they would always wait to begin a project or a settlement on one of those two dates, either the 5th of Iyar or the 42nd day, of the Omer, which is Kav Zayin Kav Chet Iyar, which is the freeing of the liberation of Jerusalem. So that's pretty amazing. Okay, let's go on. Right now we're going to connect the dots. We're really going to understand what is happening here in the land of Israel, mistakes, how do we bring the final redemption. So let's connect all the dots and let's roll here. Okay. The zodiac sign of the month, every month of the Jewish year has a zodiac sign. The zodiac sign of the month of Iyar is the Taurus, which is an ox, a shor in Hebrew. Now this is very interesting because this month is represented by the ox. Ox is the symbol of strength. A symbol of strength. If I'm not mistaken, when Richard Nixon went to visit China for the first time, I think he gave some special, perhaps special ox to two of them that he gave to the leader of China. And so this is a symbol of strength, which is an amazing thing. Two victories, the victory of the War of Independence and the victory of the Six-Day War. Number two, we know that Shor, the ox, which is the zodiac sign of this month, is represented by the tribe of Joseph. It says many times in the Torah that Joseph is, in his blessings that he was given by Moses before he passes away, Bechor Shoro Hadar Lo. He calls Yosef the firstborn, the oxen of beauty. So we have here, we know that there are two messiahs for the Jewish people. There's the Messiah of Joseph, which represents, just like Joseph made sure that there was food in Egypt. Joseph was a physical type of Messiah for Egypt. He saved the physicality of Egypt by solving the dreams of Pharaoh and putting in a program for the 7 good years in order that Egypt should flourish during this famine time. So it's an amazing thing because the Torah teaches us that the first Messiah will be the Messiah, the son of Joseph. Joseph represented by the ox. And it's a physical redemption. So our big time physical redemption comes in the month of the Taurus, which is the month represented by the Messiah, the son of Joseph. The second Messiah, of course, is the son of David, a relative from the family of David who will bring the spiritual redemption to the Jewish people. So we see in Israel, we see the building in Israel, we see the technology, we see the agriculture. It's all part of Mashiach ben Yosef. And it all happened, the roots are in this month, this time of year, so we understand now. Next, we spoke about the victory over Amalek. That's an amazing thing, the arch enemy of the Jewish people. When was the victory? The victory was in the month of Iyar. When were our two big victories in our times, in our era? This was, once again, in the month of Iyar. Just like we overcame Amalek, the arch enemy of the Jewish people, we overcame 7 armies, 7 of our enemies in these 2 wars. Also interesting, the two-blade sword that we spoke about, that you have to be very careful, very interesting. Because it is true that we were victorious over Amalek in battle. However, there's another battle that Amalek represents, and that's a spiritual battle, because the word Amalek comes from the word malak, which means to separate. In the temple, they used to take birds and they would separate various parts from one another. This was called milika. So the purpose of Amalek was to spiritually destroy the Jewish people. That was there. So very interesting. Actually, with the establishment of Israel during this month, the first establishment of Israel was 1948 in the victory in the War of Independence. The next major step where the whole game changed, the whole game plan changed in 1967 when we acquired territory, nothing compared to, you look at Hanukkah, it's a joke, comparing it to what we have today, or especially back then, before we started giving away parts of the land of Israel. So it's an amazing thing. The reason why Amalek came, because the Jewish people said, is God with us? Is God, like maybe he's not here, maybe he doesn't exist. After they made that statement, wow, they get hit by Amalek. So this is an amazing thing. On one hand, we have the victory over Amalek in the month of Iyar, the 23rd day of Iyar. Amazing thing. This is the beginning. This is the first war that the Jewish people fought after exiting Egypt. So this is like the father and mother of all wars. And it took place in Iyar. And therefore, we're just continuing that process. In Iyar, we have tremendous victories. On the other hand, it also represents the Jewish people going off, saying, is God with us? Is God with you? Hey, are you out there? The 10 plagues, remember those? Remember the splitting of the sea? Yeah, that wasn't too long ago. Think about it. We crossed over the sea on the 21st of Nisan. We're talking about 32 days later, baby. Remember me, God? So therefore, it's very interesting, because more so than probably anywhere in the world, we have waves here of small groups that are constantly fighting against anything that smells Judaism. Torah, against the Torah, against commandments, against the Sabbath, against the land of Israel. Nothing has changed. So we have this is all included in the month of Iyar. We have the positive side, the victory over Amalek, but we have the negative side. We have the negative side of a certain amount of people saying, we don't believe in God. And therefore, Amalek attacks. Going on further, it says in Psalm 6, says the following, an amazing hint, which is brought down in many books. We say this every single day in our prayers, unless of course you're maybe Hasidic and they don't say it usually because they have some kind of holiday. It's like a holiday by them every day. But we say it every day. It's called the Tachanun prayer. It's on Psalm 6, verse 11. Listen to this. It says, we're asking God to depart from me all evildoers, for Hashem has heard the sound of my weeping. Let all my foes be shamed and utterly confounded. They will regret and be shamed in one instant. So if you look at the acronym of these words, Oivai Yashuvu Yevoshu Raga. It's Iyar. It's Iyar, baby, straight on. An amazing thing, folks. I can't believe we're still sitting here. We haven't gone out the windows through the ceiling. Let's get with it. Unbelievable. The month of Iyar is represented by this verse. What's the verse talking about? That our enemies will be shamed. They'll be confused. They'll be defeated. What enemies are we talking about? There are two types of enemies that every one of us have. We have physical enemies that want to destroy us. And we have also the spiritual. So isn't that amazing? The month of Iyar, in one little month, we have the victory. We have the victory over our enemies. And that's the acronym of this month. That our enemies will be defeated. On the other hand, we're also calling out to God to save us from the spiritual enemy, the evildoers. Amazing thing. And that's exactly what's happening in the land of Israel. So on one hand, we're experiencing tremendous victories over our enemies on all fronts, east, west, south, north. On the other hand, there's a tremendous war at the same time that's going on between those that want to destroy Torah. Those multitudes or bad Jews that want to destroy anything connected to Torah. All same in 1 month, going on. Many of the commentators say, why is the zodiac symbol of this month the Taurus, the ox? Why? Because they tell us the major time of work in the field takes place during this month. The month of Iyar, which we're in, which is usually somewhere April, May-ish, the month of Iyar, more than any other month, represents working of the fields, which is an amazing thing. Why? Because when you think about working the fields, so you always have the ox. That's the symbol of working in the fields. Now listen to this one. Ox in numerical value is 506. Now we have every day, because of the fact that this is a time of year that the Talmud tells us that the Jewish people are being judged how much, what will be our livelihood, how much will we have food, will we have sustenance, how much money we're going to make. This is the time of year. Why? Because it says on Passover, God decides, judges us on the wheat, on the all the how do we say the kmachim, the grains. God decides, and we know so that's Passover, and on Shavuot, God decides He's judging us as far as the fruits. What will be our lot with the fruits? So this is very interesting. Why? So we said Shor is 506. Every night after we say the counting of the Omer, we have the God's Holy 42 name prayer. It was by Rav Nechunya ben Akana. It's Ana Bekoach, and if you look at the side, look at that prayer once, you'll see that there are 42 words there, and there are 42 acronyms there. That is a special holy name of God. And the first line, the first week, is the following. It's Ana Bechoach, Gedulat Yemincha, Tatir Tzura. And then it will say at the end of that, it will say Avag Yatatz, which is an acronym of it. Aleph Bet Gimel, Ana Bechoach, Gedulat Yatatz. If you do the numerical value of that holy name, it comes out to 506. Because this holy name that I just said is the holy name, is a spiritual name for a person that's praying for sustenance. Which means that if a person needs some bucks or needs some shekel, so always concentrate on that first line of Ana Bechoach and look at those first letters, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Yud, Tav, Tzadi, Sofit. Look at those letters that are 506, and that is the key to sustenance. That is the spiritual power that God has brought down to the world that opens the safe, opens up the heavens to a tremendous blessing of plenty. So it's an amazing thing. The month that Israel was established is the month of Iyar. Iyar represents the ox. Ox represents working in the field. Fields is what are we going to be able to eat? What are we going to be able to drink? Because in order to grow things, you need water. So that's also how much water we have. So sustenance, the land being worked upon and the land being successful is in this month, which is an amazing thing. Why? Because we have two sources in the Talmud which are amazing. Put on a seatbelt. This is to understand our times. There are two sources, listen closely, on Tractate of Megillah 17b, on the Tractate of Sanhedrin 98a. It says the following, we know in Megillah, we'll start with that. It says that the 19 benedictions that we have, called the Amidah, we say 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. Is there a reason, is there a connection between each of the blessings? And we know there are. So the Talmud goes over each of the connections. Now, we get to the request of sustenance, request of making a living, and that is connected to asking God to bring in the ingathering of the exiles. So the Talmud says, what is going on here? What is the connection between asking for to make a good living and bringing in the ingathering of the exiles, bringing the Jewish people back to the land of Israel? What in the world is their connection? I mean, there's business, you know, and then there's bringing the Jewish people back to the land of Israel. No. The Talmud, if you connect the two, Megillah with Sanhedrin, it says the following, that when you see the Jewish people, when you see the land of Israel giving off its produce in a nice fashion, when you see in Israel, when you see that the land is giving off its fruits and its vegetables, Israel is one of the top agriculture countries in the world. Amazing thing. So when you see this happening, the Talmud tells us in Sanhedrin 98, it tells us that there is no clearer sign that the redemption is right around the corner. So therefore, when you see the land of Israel producing, this is why it's brought next to the ingathering of the exiles, because this is the sign that the redemption is taking place. So think about it, if you see 2 whammies in one shot. Amazing thing. You see 2 whammies in one shot. You see, number one, the land of Israel. Just in our area here, in our little small area here, tremendous success in the international wine competition in France. There are, last year, 5 gold medals from small dinky settlements in the Shomron. Each settlement has maybe 300, 400 families. How were we able to take just what the prophet Jeremiah says, that there will come a day when the mountains of the Shomron will once again give off their grapes and give off their wine. We are seeing prophecy in our times. You don't have to go so far. Now, there's wicked people? Definitely so. Definitely so. There's a lot of wicked people. However, that's if you look at the continuation of the 19 prayer benediction, you'll see that what's the next stage after the ingathering of the exiles, after Israel is the largest Jewish population in the world now, thank God. It's the largest population Jewish population in the world and growing. So after that, we talk about getting new judges. We talk about fighting against the wicked, V'lam al-shinim. That's a process. But first, God brings us back, and the land comes to life again. The Jewish people come to life again. They're brought back to the land of Israel. So that's what's happening at this time. So it all is connected to the zodiac sign of the Taurus, which represents working the fields, which represents sustenance, which represents this time of year where the land of Israel had, during this time of the year, Iyar, when we have the opportunity, God has given us this tremendous opportunity